Hi, everybody. It's JJ Conway, and today we are going to talk about self-directed IRAs. For those of you who are new, this is the Building Wealth Together monthly meeting. We meet every first Saturday of the month, and hold tight because we're looking at changing that to every third Saturday of the month. But for now, we're still meeting every first Saturday of the month, and we bring to you the best in real estate investment education. This is real life real estate investing. This isn't some fancy guru trying to slick sell you into products and mentoring and coaching. Although I will sell you products and coaching and mentoring, we do it with a real heart because we really want to equip you to succeed. What we're going to do today, like I mentioned earlier, we are going to talk about self-directed IRAs. I love the concept of self-directed IRAs. In fact, I'm kicking myself that I didn't actually grasp hold of this concept until later in life. I have some deals now that have made me significant amount of income that I paid tax on that I wish I would have done within a self-directed IRA so that I could have done it tax-free. How do you like tax-free? You know, tax-free can mean the difference between sailing off the coast and enjoying your luxurious vacation and sitting at home still working like a dog. All right. I don't want to work like a dog, and I'm sure you don't either. So let's talk a little bit about self-directed IRAs. And before we get into it, let me remind you all that you can get the complete course as well as the recording of today's class, as well as coaching and mentoring with me when you go to jjconway.teachable.com or also buildingwealthtogether.com. I got to update the slide. They go to the same place where you can get the real estate investing 101 complete class that covers every one of these topics we've been going over for the last year. All right. You're going to love it. A little bit of agenda for those of you who are new to Building Wealth Together. First, I'm going to talk about why we're doing these classes and the reason that we're broadcasting them for free instead of in our closed environment that we usually do in the mall. I'm going to talk about who Building Wealth Together is. I'm going to give you 2 promises that I make with every teaching that I do. All right. I'm going to give you an overview of self-directed IRAs. I'm going to let you know where you can go to find more information. And Equity Trust has a neat referral program. Since I'm already a customer, I don't get paid for this, y'all. They don't give me a kickback or anything, but they will waive your enrollment fee for coming to them as part of buildingwealthtogether.com. I'm going to be using some of their materials today, so I'm super, super excited for you to get started with your self-directed IRA without an enrollment fee. How awesome is that, right? I'm also going to give you the opportunity to learn, and that is something we'll talk about later if you want to dig more into the details of this, okay? Both with my content as well as with Equity Trust's content. So a couple of admin notes before we start. If we were in the mall, I would tell you where the doors are and what happens in a fire and where the bathrooms are and all that. But we're, COVID, we're all virtual. This Real Estate Investing 101 is actually my fundraiser every year for Global Youth Initiative. Twice a year, we gather youth together. We equip them with leadership and confidence building workshops, seminars. We've done DISC for kids. We've done college and career. We've done entrepreneurship. We've done finding your talent. We've done You Matter, YOU, You Matter. I mean, we even did free money for college one year. We did that center stage of the mall. That was a lot of fun. We've done rock climbing. We've done Sideport. We've done all kinds of neat things to encourage the next generation of youth. And my Real Estate Investing 101 class, that's my fundraiser for it. That's why I'm broadcasting this out, because I'm hoping you're going to enjoy what you see today and you're going to make a donation of any size at one of the methods that are on your screen. And for those of you who are just listening in by phone, you can PayPal to ministerwiggins@gmail.com. You can go to bit.ly/lovehelping, or you can go to Cash App, Queen of Cash Flow. Please be sure, if you Cash App me, please be sure to put in that it's for Global Youth Initiative, because we want your money to go to the right place. Who am I kidding? I put a lot more money into Global Youth Initiative than anybody donates. So, but really though, this is a fantastic program. And if you would like to bring Global Youth Initiative to your location, reach out and let me know. Either I can provide that at your school or your organization or even your home. Or if you're in another state, I can put you in contact with another John Maxwell team leader who is passionate about youth and empowering the next generation. And they will be able to conduct that event for you at no charge. Whoop, whoop. You know why it's at no charge? Because you're going to donate. That's why my event's at no charge. Yes, yes, yes. When we take them rock climbing, we take them to Sideport, we take them here, we take them there. It is completely free to the child. All right. Or to their parents. All right. So with this format that we're going to do, I'm not going to be able to stop and answer your questions as we go. You can drop your questions in the comments and either I or my assistant will be able to answer them on the fly, depending on what, if I'm playing a video, I might be able to hop in there. But if you normally we would open up the lines and you could ask a question live. We're not going to be able to do that today. Okay. So if you have a question, drop it in the chat. Or if you want to dig deeper, you can always go to buildingwealthtogether.com and you can register for the advanced course, which includes coaching with me. All right. What is Building Wealth Together? Building Wealth Together started 6 years ago in Alexandria, Virginia. We are not a get rich quick group. However, the things that we teach in this group can get you financially independent within 5 to 7 years if implemented. And by implemented, I mean you're not just watching, you're doing. All right. There are many, many ways to get rich right. And that's what we look at. Okay. There's a lot of legit ways to get rich. We spend from about April to October focusing on real estate investing. We spend the rest of the year looking at mindset as well as entrepreneurship and really discovering what your talents and passions are so that you can move forward in your life in a way of earning income and impacting the world that actually aligns with who you are and who you were designed to be. Okay. We are dedicated to empowering individuals to achieve their desired goals and improve their lives. We believe in education, ethics, and accountability. We offer financial investment and entrepreneurial education. That's who we are as Building Wealth Together. Our meetings are always free on the first Saturday of the month. Again, I'm looking at changing that to the third Saturday of the month as I proceed with my military retirement and get used to my new locale. I think I'm going to need to make a shift there so that I can build better relationships with the community. But I'm going to send a poll out. So if you want input on when we meet in 2021, make sure you join either on Meetup or in the Build Wealth with JJ Facebook group, or the buildingwealthtogether.com website. You can register as a student completely free, and you'll get the announcement of when I do the poll. Okay. So our meetings are free. There are benefits to membership. And again, I do apologize to our members today because we have a bit of a special situation. I'm not going to be able to do the open mic for our members and our sponsors. However, if you sent me a video or if you sent me a tagline or a testimonial, I can upload it to the comments of this video once it's posted. All right. Normally, I would open up the lines, let you talk about your business or any deals you have coming up. And normally, I would let our sponsors talk about what they do because some of our sponsors actually don't do real estate. Okay. They're small business owners. All right. And we're an audience of small business owners. Another great benefit to upgrading from a free membership to a VIP membership is you get access to all of the recordings. And here's the cool thing. Every year, we keep those recordings from the last year and we just add to the next year. So every year you're getting more and more value. That's why the price has gone up since that original $20 a year it was back in 2014. All right. You also get first dibs on trying new classes for free. And if you join a meetup group, either the original meetup group, which is still 450 people strong in Alexandria, Virginia, or the Architects meetup group, which I think is like 170 people now, whichever one you join, we put a cool title on your meetup screen, and your price is locked for life. If you join as a member, a VIP member, your price is locked for life. So those of you who paid $20 a year, still only paying $20 a year. And actually, some of them have come to so much and that we've kind of grandfathered them in. They're not even paying anymore. Wouldn't you like to be that person? Yeah. All right. So that's who Building Wealth Together is. Now, what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about what is an IRA. We're going to talk specifically about self-directed IRAs. But before I talk about self-directed IRAs, let's talk about what an IRA is in the first place. IRA stands for Individual Retirement Arrangement. Individual retirement arrangement is a special account that was created based on tax code that authorizes an individual retirement arrangement. This is a tax-favored personal savings arrangement for retirement, okay? Now, there are a lot of different types of IRAs, okay? And we're going to talk about some of them on the next couple of slides. But the basic gist is you set up this account with your bank, insurance company, or other financial institution, okay? And it's specifically designed to help you prepare for retirement, okay? The whole premise of the IRA is there's two ways we can live life. We can pay now and play later, or we can play now and pay later. All right. And for me, it's very, very poignant because I'm at a stage in my life now where a lot of us are receiving the fruit of our decisions. Many of us did not make smart decisions in our younger years, and now we are suffering for it. Whereas those who made the smart, boring, those who made the smart decisions when they were younger are receiving the fruits of those decisions today. They're receiving the fruits of those decisions in their body and their physical health. They're receiving the fruits of those decisions in their relationships, and they're receiving the fruits of those decisions in their finances. The amazing thing about real estate investing, however, is you can overcome a whole lot of mistakes of your youth by a program of real estate investing. Let me just talk to you for a second, okay? Because a lot of times, we don't really realize until it's almost too late what we've lost. If you're sitting in a situation where life has punched you down later in life, I want to encourage you. Your life is not over. It doesn't matter what you're facing. It doesn't matter what's happened to you. It doesn't matter what's going on in your body. Yes, we have our physical trials. Yes, we have the mental struggles. Yes, we wrestle with the demons of regret and disappointment. However, you can take charge of your life right now. Did you know that research says that the most impactful years of a person's lives are their 70s? And the second most impactful decade of somebody's life is their 60s. All right. The best is yet to come. Actually, I'm going to take that back. For people who make it into their 80s, actually their 80s are the most impactful. And then it goes 80s, 70s, and 60s. Man, oh man. Can you imagine giving up now and deciding you're all washed up and all done for now, and deciding that you've been cast aside now when you still have 20, 30, or 40 years of life left to impact the next generation? See, the wealth and the money in the bank that we build up now, that's going to fade away. But what preserves your legacy and what makes you live on forever and ever in others is how you impact the next generation. And if you are like me and life got punched you down, and I didn't do my intro slide today. I normally have a slide that says, who is JJ Conway? But if you're like me and life punched you down the way it punched me down when I came home from that trip and my ex had sold the house and he had thrown out most of my stuff and he had moved into an apartment and this and this and that and that. And when the dust settled, I was a single Black military mom with over $800,000 of debt to my name. That's a gut punch. But I'm here to tell you, if I can overcome that, you can overcome anything. I remember a couple years ago, some of you have heard this story and I won't go all deep into it, but a couple years ago, I had a series of 2 car accidents within a year. One affected my ability to lift my left arm until a physical therapist came in. Thank God for physical therapists, right? And then the second one, I had cognitive issues. I had migraines for the first time in my life. I couldn't get my sentences together. If you asked me what this was, for a while, I couldn't even, it took me forever to even think. It would take me like 3 or 4 seconds to think chip clip, right? But even if I thought chip clip, what would come out is cup or pen. Like that's what I would say. Can you imagine how devastating it is to be in a situation where your entire career has been built on being a scientist in the Air Force and you can't even properly identify a chip clip, right? Well, I'm going to tell you what I discovered in that moment. One thing I discovered in that moment is that life is very fleeting and we have to maximize every opportunity that comes our way. I also discovered that in that moment, that if I was to have died, at least I knew that my husband and my kids knew without a shadow of a doubt how much I love them, because I tend to choose them first. I didn't always used to do that, but I tend to choose them first, right? And so for me, that gave me a sense of peace. Like if I never got my mind back, at least I did enough that I wasn't going to sit there and regret the decisions that I had made. But I'm going to tell you one decision that I did regret. There were friends and friendships and relationships that I chose my career over, and I didn't nurture them, and they're no longer part of my life today. And that was something that I realized in that moment. You can work hard and make a name for yourself, and you can be the first Black person to be a physicist in the Air Force. Yay, that's great. But you know, at the end of the day, what's important is, have you taken care of your body? Have you taken care of your finances? Have you nurtured your relationships, your primary love relationships? And do you have a strong foundation with the Lord? And no matter where you are, even if you're in that state where your mind is not functioning as strongly as you want to, you are not done. Your life is not over. You have a lot left to give. Now, you may have to find a different way, but you have a lot left to give. And I'm here to help you find a way to give it. And one of the things I love about real estate investing is that any personality that is able to watch my videos and comprehend what I'm saying, any personality can find a niche within real estate investing that you can make money to fund your dreams, your calling, your legacy, and your impact. I'm so excited for the impact that we are going to have. Now, again, some things may have to change. You know, I teach my classes now. I try not to freewheel it too much anymore, because you know what? If I get too tired, the brain still doesn't operate the way it needs to. I probably shouldn't announce that on a public stream, right? But you know what? It's life. It's life. And that's why I want to encourage you. Some of us are paying now because we made a lot of money with our side businesses and we did not set anything aside. Or I was smart. I'll admit I was smart in college. I took an economics class and I said, oh, look, this is what I can do. I can invest my money. Well, I tell you what, I graduated from college with, I graduated with college, a lot of debt. But by the time my ex-husband had me liquidate that account, I had like $32,000 in my investment account. And I was debt free with $32,000 in a mutual fund. And I think I was like 26. Okay. So some of us can be smart with life and then we let some smooth talking man take all our money. Don't do that. Don't do that. They're not worth it. Ooh, let me get back to my presentation, y'all. Okay. So the thing is when it comes to finances, if you pay now, you can play later. You do the hard work now, you put forth the effort now, and then later on you can live the life that you dream of. But many of us, we play now, we live now in the here and now. I want to encourage you to look long term. You know, as people like to say, I want to encourage you to play chess, not checkers with your life. All right. And so that's what this concept of this IRA is. You're going to save your money now so that you'll have something later on. It's so much more important to me now because I remember laying in that hospital. I was sitting there in that emergency room, unable to identify even the simplest of things, although, the doctor said I could answer questions. What the doctors didn't write down is, yeah, I could answer my name, but it took like 5 seconds for me to get it. And I could tell you what day of the week it was, but it wasn't like this. I had to seriously think about it. And then it wouldn't come out my mouth. And it took more time to get it out my mouth. Right. So, you know, this is the time, whatever strength you have, even if you don't feel like you have enough strength, even if you don't feel like you have enough energy, even if you don't feel like you have enough money, now is the time to take care of your future self. All right. So, all right, let me go back to the IRAs. Traditional IRA. This is an interesting take on IRA investing. The overarching concept is to save so you'll have something for later. You know, like in case Social Security is not there for you in your old age, right? Like, why do you think the government's going to tax advantage this, right? Okay, there's always a reason, and it's never for us. It's always for the government. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the Roth. Okay, the traditional IRA is kind of a play now, pay later, because a traditional IRA, you put your money into this account. You can't touch it till you get older, but you can deduct from your tax income some or all of your contributions. Okay. So depending on, where your standing is, depending on how much you put in, your financial level, all that stuff. Okay. The earnings on this account, it grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. Then you retire. When you take that money out of the account, that's when you have to pay taxes on your earnings. Okay. You also have to pay taxes on the money you didn't pay tax in back in the day. And, if I should have grabbed that chart. There's a chart that shows all the presidents and what their tax rates are. And it was like 80 or 90% or something like that under Reagan. And then it's come down. I don't think that chart shows Trump yet, but under Obama, it was like one of the lowest tax rates that it was at. And so, the premise of that chart is, well, this is the lowest our tax rate's ever been at. Taxes are going to go up. Okay. So if I'm going to put aside some money now and not pay tax on it now, but I have to pay tax on it later, well, later is probably going to be a higher tax rate. Just historically speaking, later is probably going to be a higher tax rate. So for me personally, if I don't have to do that, I don't want to do that. But some people may have to do that because they really are stretched and they need to save, but they also need a tax deduction. So, it's always an individual decision, and we can sit down and let you know which one's the best for you to do. Okay. With a traditional IRA, you start it under 70 and a half, and you have required minimum distributions the year after you turn 70 and a half. Actually, I think with COVID, I think they've raised that to 72. Don't quote me on that. I have to research that. These slides were built before COVID. Because we've done this class 6 years in a row now, right? But if you don't take your required minimum distributions, you get hit with a penalty. Why do you get hit with the penalty? Because Uncle Sam was banking on you being able to give them tax money. And, think about how this works. Oh, we'll let the people invest their money and they don't have to pay taxes on it. But we know that money's going to grow exponentially, and we're going to take their tax money off the exponential growth, not the little bit. Yeah. And that's so cool, right? Like if I was the government, that would be really, really smart. So they're like, no. You can't just sit on that money. We need your tax money. We let you play. Now it's time to pay. All right. If you die with an amount in your account, you can pass that on to your beneficiaries. Now, at a certain point, we got to this point where people weren't really, the government needed more money. That's really what this came down to. Let me just shorten it that way. The government needed more money, and they came out with this really great plan to infuse cash into the government. They said, you know what? We need to infuse cash. Let's do it this way. Let's give people an option where they pay tax on their retirement retirement arrangement account amount. Wow, that's a tongue twister. We let them pay tax on it now, and we promise them they won't have to pay tax on it later. Okay. Now, when I first started out in financial coaching, I was under Larry Burkett. I wasn't officially under him, but because I couldn't afford I couldn't afford the course, and then I could afford it, and then I was scared. Y'all, don't be scared of something. If something's your calling, just go do it. Okay. I was coaching for years using Larry Burkett's materials in his shows, but I was too afraid to plunk down and become one of his financial coaches. Okay. Because I didn't have a confidence in myself. Anyway, that was years ago. But when I started out, he was very, very against the idea of the Roth IRA, because in his book, you can't trust the government. You can't trust the government not to turn on you, and the government is designed to turn on you. And if people are always like, oh, the world, we're going to a cashless society, or we're trying to do this, we're trying to do that. Like, you know what? The Bible predicted that like 2,000 years ago. So like, we already know where society is going. Okay. So I understand that. And that was a big thing back then. Well, you can't trust the government. No, you can't trust the government. But for now, this particular thing is an excellent vehicle, especially for those of you who, like me, are a lot closer to retirement than we look. Okay. The Roth IRA says, I'm going to pay taxes on my money now, but I'm going to invest my money now. And then when I pull my money out, I'm not going to have to pay taxes on the growth. So you invest in the market and it grows exponentially, as it tends to if you leave it in long enough. And I pay tax on this little bit. I don't have to pay tax on this big bit. Now, when we think about the traditional, let me go back to that slide. Whoops, wrong way. When we go to the traditional, the premise of this was you're going to work for 20, 30, 40 years. No, not 20. You're going to work for 30, 40 years. You're going to get a pension. You're going to have your house paid off. You're going to have all these other things done, and you're going to retire. You're not going to keep working, so you're not going to have income. So when you take this tax hit from the original IRA, When you take that tax hit, your income was going to be lower because you wouldn't be earning anymore, right? Well, we all know that didn't happen, right? So now the thing is, well, I expect that I'm going to earn more in my later years than I'm earning now. Think about it this way. If you expect that you have a message or you have a calling on your life that is going to change the world and you expect to be well compensated for that change later on in life, then you definitely want to take advantage of this because your income will never decrease. Like, I'm not projecting a decrease in my income. I'm expecting that my income will continue to grow and grow and grow. Just like my very first speaking engagements were free, and now I'm getting paid between $5, $10, $20,000 to come present at an organization or to give a keynote speech. I expect that that's going to continue to grow, 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 and grow, right? And so I don't want to have to pay taxes on this retirement growth at a higher income. I want to get rid of that tax burden and have a tax-free life. Okay, so the Roth is a special form of IRA. You pay tax on your money now. You put that money into the Roth. You don't have to pay tax on the earnings later. Cool beans, right? If you have if you use the money for the wrong things, it's not like retirement things. And yeah, they'll do that if you take it out too early. If you do this, you do that, right? Again, you have to meet certain requirements, right? But here's the cool thing. You can keep contributing to a Roth no matter how old you get, right? There are no required minimum distributions because, again, Uncle Sam already got his cut. Uncle Sam's not going to regulate you taking your money when they already got their cut and they're not going to get any money. Like, they're not going to spend money to make sure you don't give them money, right? Like, that's a waste of their time, right? Now, there is an income limit depending on your income, but, there are ways, and we're not going to dig into those now. There are ways for higher earners to take advantage of this technique. All right. How much can you put into, oh, wow. I'm so embarrassed, y'all. These are 2019 numbers. I did not look up to see what the 2020 numbers are, and I should have done that. So we're going to just kind of breeze past this slide. You can see down there, the source of my data on all of these slides was irs.gov. I try to go straight to the horse's mouth, right? There is a limit of how much you can put what your income is for a Roth. However, like I said, there are ways around it because there's no income limit on a traditional. Now, you may not get a tax deduction if you're a high earner in a traditional, but get this, you can start in a traditional and then you can do a conversion to a Roth. You might have to pay some tax. Yeah, you will have to pay some tax, but you can do it. All right. So those are some advanced topics. We're not going to cover those today, but if you want to ask more about that, you can either drop a question in the comments or you can sign up for my real estate investing 101 class that's at buildingwealthtogether.com. And that way you'll actually get access to me to be able to answer your questions on a one-on-one basis. All right. Now, there are different kinds of IRAs depending where you are. There's what we call the SEP, the Simplified Employee Pension. Okay, that's one that follows the same rules as your traditional IRA. And this is great if you're self-employed because your business can put in, and then you can put in depending on how your business is structured. Again, these are techniques to help somebody who's starting over later in life actually get ahead faster. If you've only got 7 to 10 years till retirement, these strategies that I'm telling you today will allow you to retire with dignity and in style. All right. Now, if you're 20 something watching this, and I imagine by now, if you're 20 something, I've talked too long and too slow and you've probably fallen off. But if you're still watching this, let me just talk to you for a second as your auntie. All right. If you're 20 something watching this, what I want you to do is no matter what's going on in the world, start plunking 200, 150, some amount every month in the market. If you are in your 20s and you put $100 a month into the stock market and you just let it ride through the ups and the downs, the rises and the crashes, you will retire a multimillionaire. Okay. So just do it. Just do it. All right. But I'm going to be honest. I don't get a whole lot of 20 somethings on my calls or on my classes because like I said, I'm not, my son the other day said, okay, boomer. I said, oh no. First of all, I'm not a boomer. I'm Gen X. Second of all, that's disrespectful. And he's like, well, I don't know. All the other kids are saying, I'm like, But I do understand that those of us who have a few years on us, we do tend to talk a lot longer and we explain things more fully and creatively than you have time for or patience for. So, this is good stuff though. It'll help you get ahead in life. Now, many many of us, excuse me, many of us who have jobs, we have. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about my son. Let me just compose myself here. Yep, this is the problem with doing stuff that's live, right? Okay, can't edit that out. Okay. Many of us who have jobs, we have something called a 401k. This is also a vehicle for saving for retirement. It's an employer sponsored investment plan. It's not really an IRA, okay? Because an IRA is simply an arrangement that's made by a particular tax code. Okay, so each of these things are, arrangements that you can do, or authorizations, or things like that. Okay, and so each of them are kind of named by the legislation or the portion of the tax code that authorizes you to do that. Okay, so a 401k, employer sponsored, not an IRA, but it does have tax advantages, and a lot of times you get the employer match. Now, I'm a big fan of free money, y'all, so go ahead and get your free money. All right, and after that, once you get your free money, though, I'm going to recommend, for most of us, and it is individual, but for most of us, the best plan for you is likely to be the Roth IRA, so that you can build wealth now and then you can spend it later. Now, when we talk about IRA, your individual arrangement account, right? We talk about an IRA. The typical IRA is you pay your money to some mythical company, whoever your employer has managing the plan. It could be one of the big houses like Vanguard or Fidelity or something like that. It could be a value house like the Timothy plans, or some of the other investment strategies that are aligned with a particular value set, whatever's important to you, right? A self-directed IRA is the same kind of thing, except that you manage the funds. So the typical IRA that you would set up through an investment house or your bank or through your employer, that's something that somebody else manages. A self-directed IRA is something that you manage, okay? And the cool thing about the self-directed IRA is you can invest in almost everything. Like, there are people who have invested in like the race car paraphernalia. There's a story out there that I heard the other day of an investor who they invested in a race horse, like Kentucky Derby and stuff. And so I was like, well, how you can't invest in gambling things. Like, you can't invest in you can't invest in financial products. That was not going to come. But you can invest in things like Bitcoin and things like that, but you can't, there's certain things you can't invest in. But what they do with the racehorse is their IRA makes money when they do the stud fees. I was like, wow, you can really invest in a lot of creative things in your self-directed IRA that are aligned with your passions and your purpose. Now, of course, this overarching class is Real Estate Investing 101. So I'm going to focus on real estate, but the possibilities are endless. Okay. You can invest in all the same things that you can invest in a regular IRA that you would get through your bank, through your job, right? Stocks, bonds, mutual funds, CDs, all those kinds of things, right? You can also invest in things like real estate, cryptocurrency. You can invest in debt products like tax liens, notes, things like that, right? You can invest in gold and precious metals, and kind of like I alluded to with the stud fees, you can invest in other businesses. So there's a lot of different things that you can invest in. However, there are some gotchas. One of the biggest gotchas of having a self-directed IRA is you can't conduct transactions that are in-house. Okay. So everything has to be at arm's length. So I can't have my husband I can't pay my husband's company to come in and do this and that and that. I have to hire that out. I can't go do my own work on my own investment properties if I have it in my IRA. I have to hire that out. I can go into business with my spouse, my kid, or somebody, but it can't be us together. It has to be our IRAs in a partnership or some other formally dictated method of partnership. Okay. So the deals must be at arm's length. So I'm not buying houses and then selling them to all my kids. Okay. Now, the other thing is you can't get that benefit. So I made the example of, I can't just hire my husband to do everything, or my son. My son has had his own handyman company since he was like 8 years old. Ethan, the handyman, he even has a web page, y'all, because I've always tried to get him in the entrepreneurial mindset, right? And so you just have to be very careful about how you do that. There are ways to work around some of the rules with the investment strategies, but those are things that I'm not really comfortable with discussing. And so, we can talk a little bit about those, but I'd rather you talk directly to the people who are custodians for your account once you set one up. Okay. All right. The final thing, and this is the biggest gotcha, and this is the one that got me the worst. If you're not making money, you're losing money. And what I mean by that is, if you don't work the self-directed IRA, your money is just sitting there. It's not growing. It's not doing anything. And so then what happens? Well, you say, well, I didn't lose anything. But what you lost was the money you would have made had you just put that money in the market. So when I first set up my self-directed IRA, it was after that $3,000 house that made me like $50,000, right? And I was like, oh my goodness, I need to have done this in a tax-free account, right? So after that, I went and set up my IRA, but then it sat there and didn't do anything with it for 2 years. And I took my original IRA that I had and I split it in two. And so the one that was still in the market, I left that money there. It just kept growing slowly, but it kept growing. And the other one just sat there, wasn't making anything. And so I wasn't losing money, but I wasn't making money. And the whole point of doing this and the whole point of putting forth the effort is to make money. If you want to learn more about self-directed IRAs, the company that I have mine with is called Equity Trust, and they have a lot of good education products out there. Okay. This is the company I use. There's others out there that are just as good, but I don't know of any others out there that do as much education. Okay. And so that's one of the things that I liked about Equity Trust. They have been so very helpful with me in all the mistakes that I've made. And when I email them, because I decided to upgrade to the gold level because I knew that I was going to mess things up and I knew I was going to have questions. And I know that I have that kind of hurry up and get it done mentality. And sometimes that you just need somebody to hold your hand a little bit because you just want to go, and you don't want to clean up all the details. And I needed somebody who could partner with me to clean up some of these details to make sure I did it right, because I am too cute to go to jail. Right? So you can go to Equity Trust and they have a lot of good education. In fact, I highly recommend watching John's video on frequently asked questions. Okay. In fact, I probably should have just not talked and played his video for you, right? But I am going to play one video for you. And this is a video of a particular individual. Let me rephrase that. I'm sorry. This is the video of a group of investors, but I want us to focus on this main story here. Let's see if this will go. Ooh, can you hear that at all? Let me see if I can turn that up. There we go.
Well, I call myself a recovering accountant. I'm an ex-CPA from years and years ago, but I've gotten into investing about 15 years ago. Joined the local RIA group that I'm a big fan or proponent of the local RIAs.
Yep.
Partnered up with two other NORRIA members on my first deal. Got involved pretty quickly, not to get into details, but with a 1031 exchange and took advantage of
Excellent.
That. A couple of years after doing that, we had a guest speaker with Equity Trust Company at the local RIA. And sounded like that would be a good thing to do. So that's what got me involved with the Equity Trust Company about a dozen years ago.
This is so cool, y'all. Be in the right place in the right time.
Because I got a phone call from a full-time friend and part-time partner, Sean Tenafos, who's hiding out here somewhere in the crowd. But he had ran across a deal with a wholesaler, which was a deal of the century, and we looked at it. My wife and I went down, looked at the property. All the numbers seemed to work very well. We got together. We purchased the property for a little over. We purchased it for $100,000 plus some closing costs. We had loaned the money. My wife Alicia and myself had loaned the money to Sean for the partnership from our self-directed IRAs. We didn't have enough for either of us to do the whole 106,000, I think it was. My wife did 25, I did 75, and the two IRAs partnered up for the note.
Fantastic strategy. Now,
brought us the deal. We closed mid-September. We had kind of said, let's do a three exit kind of strategy. The first one would be to do some nominal cleanup on it, basically make it to where it was presentable to an investor, pull the vines off the side of the building. I mean, this was in really sad shape. Clean up the yard, replace some what we call gingerbread, some exterior molding and such, make it something that would that an investor could see the potential more easily. And it was on the cusp of a good neighborhood to bad neighborhood type of area. So we thought that the potential there, the best use and profit for that property was to end up selling it to an owner occupant. That was our other exit strategy. And the one we ended up with was to re-wholesale it, I guess would be a term. We sold it to a person who then did a very top end renovation for it, and separated it into two fee simple owned townhouses, and sold them to owner occupants at retail. So everybody along the chain made a nice hunk of change.
It's a win-win-win-win. The best part is his tax-free payoff.
We purchased it for $100,000. We literally spent $2,000 or $3,000 on getting stuff out of it, pulling the vines off, getting the weeds knocked down, replacing some of the exterior on it, and then Sean, again, I was mostly the money man on it. He had arranged with a real estate agent to, how much should we ask for this as is? And she said, I think you guys could list it for $275,000. So we said, okay, we'll list it for $275,000. About 3 weeks later, we'd gotten an offer, negotiated a little bit, but not a whole lot. We sold it for $235,000.
Nice.
After some closing costs and carrying costs and things like that, we ended up netting about $114,000.
Tax-free, $114,000 tax-free. All right. So let's take a closer look at the elements of this deal. And for those of you who maybe couldn't hear or see the video, don't worry. I should have said this before I played it, but I'm going to actually walk you through the elements of this deal. Okay. One of the things that you'll note is that he actually started his self-directed IRA long before he used it. And so that's why I'm encouraging everybody after you hear this to go ahead and open up an account. Even if you just put a little bit of money in there to get it started, open it up so you'll have the flexibility later on. Okay. He did some small deals first where he earned while he learned. And then he had, when the deal of the century came along, he had the experience and the savings to move, and he was ready to act. Okay. Now, one thing I have to warn you about the deal of the century, for those of you who are new in real estate investing, the deal of the century comes along like every month or every year. Okay. And sometimes it really is the deal of the century, but a lot of times another deal will come along. Okay. So you want to make sure before you put you or yourself or your family out, it really is the deal of the century. But this one was a great deal for them. He loaned money from his IRA, partnering with his wife's IRA, and they went in there. They had multiple exit strategies, which is always good to have because plan A and plan B never work. Or if they do, like we say in the military, no plan survives first contact with the enemy, right? And so he had multiple exit strategies. And at the end of the day, $114,000 tax free. $235,000 sales price, $100,000 purchase price, $18,000 closing and carrying costs, okay, and about $3,000 of cleanup. I just gave you all a snippet of it. There's a much longer, much more to it. And so at the end of the day, $114,000, then he doesn't have to pay taxes on. That is like a $30,000 savings, money in his bank. What can you do with an extra $30,000? Think about that. If I plopped an extra $30,000 into your life right now, what could you do? I want to encourage you. It's possible. The secret to wealth building is very, very simple. There's only two big secrets to wealth building. One, spend less than you make and invest the rest. And number two, start now with where you are and with what you have. If you spend less than you make and invest the rest, you will grow in wealth. If you start now, you will grow in wealth. Too many of us, we don't start because we're scared. We don't understand. We're, and I don't ever want you to invest in anything you don't understand, but I want you to take action, even if it's going to Equity Trust's website and start learning more about self-directed IRAs. Okay. In my case, what I've used, and so again, I set my IRA up after I had that juicy deal. And then it was like, then we moved. And I was like, wait, no, I can't move. I'm finally getting my real estate business going again. And we moved to Louisiana. They have a whole different kind of real estate law. It's based on Napoleonic code. I was like, I'm not going to mess around with this, but I was able to learn about tax certificates. And so you'll see, if you're in my real estate investing 101 full course, you'll see me send out messages from time to time about, look at that, another $6,000 tax-free into my IRA, right? And so I want to encourage you to start. But I also want to encourage you to start smartly. I want to encourage you to start with the education you need, but don't get all this education and not move forward, okay? Get the education you need, but then push yourself past your comfort zone. In order to help you push past your comfort zone with some of these things, I want to give you my two big rules of real estate investing. The first rule, you've heard it from every other real estate investor teacher out there. You make your money when you buy. That means the minute you sign the ink, the deal has made you money, whether it's cash in your pocket or equity in the property. Okay. The other key is that your secret weapons are other investors and the relationships that you build with other investors. The example we just heard about, they found other investors. Their partnerships and relationships are what brought the juiciest deals. In my experience, learning from other investors has opened up my eyes and shortened my learning curve. So if you can look for a good real estate investment association meeting group, then you will be able to learn as you go from people who've already taken a lot of the hard knocks. Okay, now granted, it doesn't matter how much you learn, you're still going to get some hard knocks. So you might as well just get out there and do it. Okay, so wherever you are, that's where you want to start. I promise you right now, with the way that the economy is going, a year from now, you're going to wish you would have started today. And even if you don't have an IRA yet and you think, well, putting $6,000 a year isn't going to do me any good. Well, if you put $6,000 a year and 3 years from now, you've got $18,000 and you can buy a house for $3,000 and turn around and make 50 from it, then that's $47,000 tax free. Okay. So a year from now, you're going to wish you'd started today. A year from now, you're going to wish you had taken action today. A year from now, you're going to wish that you had put yourself at the top of your priority list. And at the very least, if there's nothing else that you do today, there's nothing else that you do this month, I want to encourage you to set up your self-directed IRA. The company I use is Equity Trust. And because I'm with them, if I send you their name, they're going to give you, now they didn't say they were going to give me anything. Like, I think I need to get an affiliate code for as many people, as many times as I've taught this class and as many people that I've invited to join them, right? Maybe I need to get a kickback, but for now, they're not going to give me a kickback, but they are going to waive your setup fee. Okay. And so again, take action now that's going to secure you and your family's future later. Too many of us feel like we're working hard and we're making the money and we're paying our dues, but then we don't pass on as much to the next generation, or we don't have as much impact in our later years as we thought we should have for all that hard work. And it's because we're not using the tax advantage strategies, and all of our hard work is being pulled at and nickeled and dimed and gobbled away by taxes and fees and other realities of life. So this is one thing that you can start today that will make your life better tomorrow. Now, if you already have your self-directed IRA set up, and it does take some time, okay, it's going to take a month or two or so to get everything set up. And if you're transferring from another IRA, you got to fill out the paperwork, and Equity Trust reaches out to that IRA, and then they do their little machinations, and then you have the money. Like it's not an instant process. All right. If you've already got it set up and you want to dig deeper, okay, this is not on my website, but I have a special class coming that will actually dig deeper into the different ways that you can make money, whether it's crypto, whether it's, all these different areas of your life. What we actually do is we sit down and we look at where your passions are and who you are and what you want to be. And then we move into what kinds of things you might invest in. This class is based on real estate, but like I established earlier, there's all kinds of other things that you can invest in. All right. So if that's something that you're interested in, you're not going to find it on my website. So you've got to go ahead and message me for more details. And I'm going to be upfront with you. If you're watching this on Facebook instead of my Building Wealth Together school, I don't get on Facebook Messenger very often. Every phone I've ever had, it just seems to crash. Maybe I got too much on there. And so I only get on with a computer. And as you know, many of us are less and less on our computers today. So I encourage you to enroll for free at buildingwealthtogether.com. That is going to be your fastest way to get access to me, is the information that you get when you log into that website. Okay, I think that's everything that I have for today. I want to thank you all for joining me. If you have questions beyond what we're talking about today, go ahead and click the Ask JJ at jjconway.org, and that will give you a form where you can fill out your questions. And if you want to, you can actually book right on my calendar. All right, that's everything I've got for you today. Thanks again for joining me. I want to thank you for being part of Building Wealth Together, and I want to encourage you that you can walk in abundance and leave a legacy. Y'all take care.